My guest today is Jennifer Palmer, who left the public school system in 2020 after working for years as a teacher, behavior specialist, and therapeutic educator. She wanted to fulfill educational and social needs outside of the traditional classroom setting, and in 2021 launched Mobile Classroom Solutions, a special education consulting company that now hosts a microschool and learning pod for the community in Polk County, Florida. She is also a co-founder and current president of the Polk Microschool Collective, which launched in 2024 to promote high quality alternative educational choice options and share resources, provide mentorship and networking throughout the homeschooling and microschooling community in Polk County. Jennifer Palmer, welcome to the LiberatED Podcast.
Thank you so much, Kerry McDonald. I appreciate you for having me here. It's so exciting, and I am just grateful for the opportunity.
Well, it's great to have you here, Jennifer. And we had the opportunity to meet in for the first time in person in July at the Launch Your KindCon gathering in South
Yeah.
Florida. Of course, Iman Aline, the founder of Kind Academy and Launch Your Kind, the microschool accelerator program that helps founders like you in Florida and elsewhere get started on their microschool entrepreneurial journey. And it was great to connect with you there. And I was thrilled to find a time to have you on the podcast to talk about your experience moving from a conventional classroom to supporting learners in unconventional classrooms. So, if we could start, Jennifer, with your background as a public school educator for many years with different roles that you had in the public schools in both Illinois and in Florida. I would love to hear a little bit about your experience, again, in the public school system.
Yes, I actually began my journey in the public school system as a kid. I come from a family of educators, mom, grandmom, and I would go after school and help out. So there was always this desire to become an educator. I got my first educator position in Peoria, Illinois. I majored in psychology and I worked in a special education classroom. I also worked as a lead in ABA therapist in the home. So I had the opportunity to get to work in a home setting as well as in the classroom setting. I also worked as a public school educator in Florida from 2016 to 2020. During that time, I also served in the public school classroom, this time as a special education educator, and I worked in various different special education classrooms in Polk County.
So, what was that experience like? And had you started to think about alternative education options while you were in the conventional system, or did that come later? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
I think the non-conventional options have always been in the back of my mind, and a lot of my work in special education has required me to be able to be flexible. I also, being a weekly lead in line therapist, now they're called registered behavior technicians, but that involves going into the home and working with children in a one-on-one setting. And I just always had in the back of my mind the idea that although it seemed great to have this wonderful public school teacher type of position with benefits and that you'd be making a great impact in the community. There were children that were learning a lot more in the home setting in a lot shorter of a time span. They were happier, their needs were being met. And we were often taking videos and trying to go to the public school and show them, look at this is what this child can do under certain conditions. As a public school teacher, when I started in the classroom, of course, I tried to contrive those conditions. I thought, well, my classroom is going to be set up. I'm going to have this therapeutic type of approach, and very successful, very successful. We started with about 9 students in our class. I had a one paraprofessional and I. By the end of the year, we grew to about 22 students and 2 paraprofessionals. However, it was just we were working at a grueling pace. We had amazing educators, an amazing team, an amazing principal. We had lots of resources, but even just in the best teams with all of those things present, it was it involves so much of our personal time to be great. And I had a team of people that wanted to be great and they would kind of burn out. So I kind of faced the challenge of being able to be consistent with families, like I was the consistency. Um, Even in the best settings, in the settings that have the most of the resources. Conversely, I also worked at schools where there weren't as many resources. And in those schools, I can say that unfortunately, the education was just not always up to par. I mean, it was more of classroom management and just trying to make sure that we could maintain safety. There wasn't a lot of learning that happened in those settings. And of course, safety is a priority, right? But being able to be great was challenging in both settings, to say the least. However, even given all the resources and the supportive team and the staff that is allotted typically to those settings, it was definitely a challenge.
Well, a common theme here on the podcast is the path from special education teacher within public schools to founder. I think that that sort of speaks to the type of individualization that special education teachers often are focused on in the conventional classroom. You're already sort of primed for personalizing learning and meeting the needs of each child, and then realizing that maybe you can do that even more effectively outside the conventional classroom, which is ultimately what happened for you. I wonder if you can share with us a little bit about when and how and why you ended up making the shift from educator within the conventional system in 2020 to founder.
Initially, I was in the classroom setting, a resource classroom where we had kindergarten through fifth grade students at various different levels. We had received training on differentiated teaching and how to utilize different leveled systems to provide sort of a thematic instruction that would then break down into different levels for learning styles. So I was used to being planning lots of different facets of lesson plans. For example, if we were all learning about, let's say, Japan, I might have learners in there that were kindergarten level. Some of them might have even been gifted and above level. So being able to plan out all the different pieces to make sure that each student receives something was a big part of it. But also COVID happened. And during COVID, it gave families a chance to see not just what their child might be learning, but really what their child was learning. I made sure all my families rented a computer and we got online during COVID and we met for a couple hours, a couple of times a week, and we sang songs and we did lessons. And it was really just about trying to keep the humanity and to keep the consistency going. When we decided to return back in the fall, a lot of the families, the moms had said, at this point, I've learned what my child can do. And they're not on e-lessons for very long. They're not at school all day. And they're learning so much more in this more personalized fashion. And so even through the computer screen, they were able to see a glimpse of how the differentiation was providing a better outcome for their child educationally. I also had a few students that decided that they were going to leave the school system because they wanted me to continue to be their teacher, and I tutored them alongside. So while I had my regular school position, I also had clients that I saw afterwards. And before long, the demand for the clients outside of the classroom grew. And I just realized that I could do so much more in a shorter amount of time. So that's really kind of how we started the idea. We had planned mobile classroom solutions in 2020, and just trying to find all the pieces then at the time, like understanding the business structure and actually how to get things together wasn't very clear. So I thought, well, we'll just start a tutoring agency. We'll just do a learning center. We'll bring kids in for tutoring. And we finally got the paperwork filed in February of 2021. And at that point, I left the public school classroom full time, up completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was good that you had a sense that there was high demand for the services you were offering. So maybe it made that entrepreneurial leap a little bit less scary and feel a little bit less risky. But I still imagine leaving the school system that you had been in for so long to do something on your own with, lots of uncertainty and unpredictability, must have been a little bit scary. What was that like for you?
It was pretty scary. There were a lot of people that were very unsure. So we had already been through COVID, and then people are like, "Oh my gosh, what are you going to do for money? And how are you going to pay your bills?" And what I knew is that I had worked with kids in the home, really off and on since 2005. So it was not just a sudden move, but yes, being able to put all of that into a pot and just jump out and really just say, "Okay, now I'm going to plummet into this." It took some confidence. It took a lot of faith. And just knowing that I had families and students that were ready to move when I was ready to move. They really believed in the quality of education. And they said to me, we don't need a classroom. We'll come to you. We'll meet you at the library. We'll meet you wherever you are. So that was the idea of the mobile classroom. We will move and we will transform whatever learning space is provided into something that is effective and something that the children will love. And even if it means that we have to use a mobile device, right? And so that was kind of our pun on the word initially. There's so many ways that you can redefine mobile. So I know that there have since been a lot of different types of mobile classrooms, but primarily we try to transform any learning space into something that is effective and fun for the kids. We're able to take a large setting, we move around the community, we travel on field trips to different places whenever we can create that immersion, which is so important for our special needs learners, as well as bring learners into our classroom. And so if we're learning about gardening, we might transform the classroom into a garden for the day or decorate it in such a way. I mean, a lot of learning really is about imagination and how well you can carry out certain things. So it's really not limited to posters and brick walls. Learning is so transformational, and it's best when you're able to um, carry it and generalize it to the community, especially for our special needs learners.
Yeah, and again, as devastating as COVID was, and the school closures and remote learning and all of the pandemic response, it did sort of unlock some ingenuity around education and sort of thinking more creatively about time and space for learning. And obviously, in your case, inspiring you to be mobile and to not only transform classrooms in different ways, but also to go where the learners are and be more imaginative about where learning could take place in your community. And so then, since then, you've retained the name Mobile Classroom Solutions to be now reflective of, kind of learning happening all the time, everywhere in different formats for different learners. And that's what you've been doing more recently, sort of hosting a micro school and a learning pod and some other educational environments. Could you share what does Mobile Classroom Solutions look like now?
Yes, we started mobile, and then not too long after we started having the demand for groups, I cleaned out a portion of my home. So that was our first learning center. After we outgrew the home, we moved to a shared office space, and we outgrew that in about 3 months. We were just kind of popping in and dropping our stuff off. In those days, we were out in the community almost every day. Now we have a space that is about a little bit under 1,100 square feet. We've got three learning rooms and a staff office, and there is a space for the kids to have like their sensory relief. We've got a room for language arts that's geared towards movement as well. And then we have a room that is geared towards science, and it has a lot of hands-on and building and more STEM type projects with a glow in the dark sort of effect. So each of our rooms have a different sensory integration experience, along with some educational opportunity or activities for the kids. And then we also have recently expanded into a clinical site at Holiday Child Development Center here in Lakeland. It is a clinic that provides applied behavior analysis services and music, creative art services, therapies to children with special needs. And this year they had such a demand. They had been referring clients over to us. They said, we have a whole group of students. So we would love to just have you to come and join us here in the center and just come be a part of what we're doing. So we're looking at expanding our space in a few months and sort of collaborating together. For those kids, many of them will get the support that they need because they will be able to provide registered behavior technicians in with the instruction. So for kids that need one-on-one or that need a moment to walk away from the room, they can still do that and come back and socialize and be part of the group, which is really cool. So they'll have those supports to allow them to continue to be with their peers and maximize education in that small setting. And our pods each last about 3 days up to 4 days a week. So the families can determine what plan works best for them. We also have some homeschoolers that just come for tutoring and after school tutoring. So we do provide a range of services. And then we also have some families that attend virtually for consult or for occasional homeschool. Um, Curriculum development. Sometimes we take curriculum and we'll simplify it and kind of highlight those things that learners should be focused on, because a lot of what we do with our special education learners are try to prioritize what's most important and simplify those things so that they can get a good grasp on the foundational skills. So those are
Yeah,
some
so
of the things we do.
yeah, so all kinds of different audiences that you're reaching, including homeschoolers and kind of curriculum consulting and support there. But are some of the students attending full time, attending your micro school, or how is that working?
We have some students that attend 2 days, 3 days, and 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Our most common program are the 2 and the 3 day options, because a lot of our students do also have therapies. So, not to overload them, they might go to ABA or they might go to creative arts therapy to offset on the days. So, they're still getting some type of educational experience almost every day. And often, if the students we work with have more challenging behaviors, or if they require a communication device, or if they're, struggling with certain needs, then we highly recommend that they have the therapies that they need. While we're able to provide great things, some of those things kind of have to coincide with the educational piece for us, and so we collaborate with those therapists and make sure that the plan is something that works in a more holistic approach. So some kids, 3 days a week is the max of what can
Yeah.
withstand attention wise. And they tend to do better. They tend to enjoy because they're not overloaded having to be in a classroom for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah. And how many students are you serving in total?
Right now, we have 19 students.
Amazing.
18 students. We
And
have
everyone who's coming to your micro school, in those 2, 3, or 4 day options, they are sort of technically considered homeschoolers. Is that how it's working?
Everyone in our pod is a homeschool
Yeah.
student.
Yeah.
Most of them utilize the Step Up for Students scholarship to help them to supplement the funds, because many of them all have therapies as well. They might use the funds for therapies and things like that. But yes, all of our students pretty much are unique abilities or they're under the PEP scholarship, depending
Hmm.
on what their family and their type is. We do have some students that don't have disabilities that attend our pod as well. And they just kind of fit in, and maybe, they just have other things of reasons why they don't want to attend a more intensive program. We offer creative arts, we do offer music, we do offer social skills, and we do offer our weekly field trip. So those are some things that some of our students just are more free spirited and enjoy the more laid back type of approach. We do have some classes that are more intensive, like days where we're more intensive, and then days where we're more hands-on and more tactical. So, those learners that are more hands-on also appreciate our setting as well as the students with disabilities.
Yeah, you mentioned the unique abilities and PEP scholarship. These are school choice programs in Florida, some of which have been around for a number of years, especially school choice programs specifically designed for special needs students to be able to find the best educational environment for them. School choice went universal in Florida in 2022, applying to all K to 12 students, and they're able to attend using the PEP scholarship as homeschoolers to really kind of customize their education, as well as use scholarship money toward private school tuition and other kinds of educational options. So, how much has that been influential for your founder journey and the families you're serving to be able to attend tuition free or nearly so?
Well, I will say I'm also a scholarship parent. So it's
Ah,
very impactful because I can provide a better education for my son.
tell us
Um,
about that if
and
you would, Jennifer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he uses the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship, and this year he's going into eighth grade. We did a little bit of homeschooling. We've also attended public school. He's a very hands-on learner. He's really into tech and STEM and things like that. So it's been a nice journey for him to be somewhere that allows him to have a little flexibility and understanding with that. He is a great kid. He still enjoys Legos and um a lot of anime and drawing and things like that. And it's been good for him. When he was in public school, sometimes people would pick on him because he wasn't always trying to be advanced like some of the other kids. And he just gets to be himself. And he love his kids, his friends love him, his teachers love him. So it's been a great experience. We enjoy where we are. And I really appreciate the scholarship for allowing us that opportunity. So that is one thing, first and foremost. But then also, as a founder, it has definitely opened the door for so many families. I think many of my families would utilize our program if they were, if they didn't have the scholarship, but I don't think they would utilize it to the same degree. This allows them to be able to use it more and then to be able to be flexible with some of the different things. So, even when we have different options to meet each budget. So there's a 2-day option, a 3-day option, a 4-day option. Most of them fit within most of the scholarship levels. But one thing about the UA scholarship is because of the different levels of abilities of the students, they are awarded different amounts. So we do take that into consideration when we're looking at the pricing for our families. And our most expensive option actually is a little bit more than like the base amount. But some of our families are willing to put stake in the game. They realize that it's really important to be a part of the program. So we really appreciate Step Up and what they've done. They've also allowed us just options to be able to help families navigate the scholarship. That choice navigator option this year is something that's been helpful for just a lot of families in general that are just trying to figure out how to use the program. There's a huge learning curve that I find with this. And so I've also been asked to come at some points and do trainings on how to navigate the Step Up, how to properly apply for it. So it's been beneficial to the business in that way too. Not that I'm trying to always do things for money, but if you're able to help people out and gain funds that you can utilize for your programs and to enhance your center for your students, then that's amazing. We all get to win in the end.
Absolutely. And of course, this is a key part of Iman Aline's work with Launch Your Kind, is really helping founders to create and sustain kind of financially successful micro schools and learning environments so that you're around for the long haul to serve families. So it's great to hear about that. Now, you're also the co-founder and current president of the Polk Microschool Collective, which opened or launched last year to really build community among microschool founders and innovative educators in Polk County, Florida. I know I've had Tanya Kipe on the podcast prior, and she's also part of that collective. Tell us a little bit about the vision for that community and your role.
Well, it started a little bit at Vela last year. I quickly learned that I was engaging in micro school type behaviors, and I was invited to come to the conference. I had only learned about a lot of the information before, so it was quite a learning curve for me. And until that point, I had pretty much been in my own place and in my own space. And while there were some people that were coming to kind of notice and poke what was going on, when Tanya Kipe showed up at my door, she brought me a wealth of resources. So after traveling to Vela and having all these resources and being around people who are extremely resourceful and full of knowledge, we came back and we thought, oh my goodness. We have to share the beauty of homeschooling with more families. We need to have an opportunity to really just invite families out to see our classes, to see what we do, to show how cool it is. So we decided to try to host a Homeschool Choice Expo. And that event was a vendor-led event. We had Step Up for Students to come, different micro schools in the Polk County community, impending micro school leaders that were questioning and thinking about it, as well as a lot of different homeschooling businesses that support homeschoolers. And the event was such a success. Before the end of the event, we were asked to do it again. And, we thought, well, since we're going to be doing events, we should form a collective. We were also being contacted by micro school leaders after that on how to start a micro school, what kind, but lots of different questions about considerations for funding, for buildings. And we were also meeting quarterly so that we could share resources with each other. So if one person went to the warehouse and located a bunch of different cool teacher supplies, we would all say things and meet up, and then we could share and dispense resources because our micro schools didn't really have the resources of bigger schools. And we knew that we could share things or even sort of lend things to each other in this system that would allow us to be able to save money, be more efficient for our families and students, and increase sustainability. So, birth was the Polk Microschool Collective. And
Oh,
we
great.
since have been doing a few events, and we recently all traveled to the second VelaCon in DC. We brought new members this time to support and show them more about the beauty of the micro school community and just more of those freedoms, joy, and love that is associated with homeschooling.
Yes, and of course you mentioned Vela, Vela.org, the national network of innovative educators and entrepreneurs like yourself. Now over 4,000 entrepreneurs in that network that includes support and resources, community, as well as micro grants to help with the launch and expansion of many of these innovative learning environments. So, and of course, their annual conference, our second annual conference, just occurred a couple of weeks ago. So, encourage folks listening who are new to Vela to check them out for sure. So, Jennifer, what is next for you? You're going into a new academic year. Things seem to be going well. What do you think the future holds, not only for mobile classroom solutions and your initiatives there, but in the microschooling movement more generally in Florida and beyond?
The micro schooling community in Polk County has grown so rapidly in the last couple of years. And I'm really excited about, well, first I'll mention the Polk Microschool Collective and just our ability to be able to empower others and to make an impact in the community. I mean, we really came back with fire, with desire to create an event, and it's just launched into something beautiful and amazing. And even going to different conferences, inspiring other founders to form collectives and to look at each other as ways to also share resources and gather together for support, for fun, for planning, some of the different things that we do because when you're starting your micro school, you might only have one or two staff members. And it's important to be able to have a community that understands what you're going through, to be able to talk to be able to have ideas, and especially in your local area where people understand the specific concerns related to your community. Because while I know, it's great to do things nationally, like greatest impact is right here outside our doors. So that's one thing. I'm really excited for our second conference or our second event this year. And hopefully that we can expand and grow. We've been looking at helping the Tampa Bay area. There are a lot of micro schooling founders that are looking for consultation and for us to be able to sort of just help out with some of the things that we've done as a collective. So being able to help more collectives. As far as mobile classroom solutions, this year I'm expanding with some staff. So I'm really excited to have a new assistant and hoping that we can continue to grow in our pods, that we will continue to be able to just maintain sustainability with our two centers. 6 months ago, I had no idea that we would be sort of expanding to a new location. So I also know to just kind of prepare myself for the unprepared, take it day by day, and just remain in a place of gratitude. It is such a beautiful journey. Like 6 years in, seeing the kids, seeing the families. Like I knew it was a cool impact at the beginning, but now, a lot of families come with tears and they leave now with smiles and happiness and joy. So, being able to just continue to transform lives in a great way.
Oh, just amazing to see sort of the transformative impact of innovative educators like you, and these entrepreneurial endeavors that you are undertaking. It's so inspiring. So, if my listeners and viewers want to learn more about mobile classroom solutions, about the Polk County Microschool Collective, follow your work, connect with you, what is the best way for them to do all of that?
Yes, the best way. I always tell people we do have a website, mobileclassroomsolutions.com is a great way to connect with us. We have a sign up list at the end of I think it's sort of the end of our menu where you can insert your information. But social media, Facebook, we are on Instagram. Also, I'm on TikTok. You can search Mobile Classroom Solutions and our organization will come up. In addition, Polk County Micro School we recently, just in the spring, became an official organization. So right now we do have a Facebook group and an Instagram group up. So if you're wanting to connect with us on either of those social networks, that would be a great way to find out more information.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to following along, and seeing more lives impacted positively by your efforts. Jennifer Palmer, thank you so much for being on the LiberatED Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate your time and your support. And thank you so much for all the work that you do. I am currently reading your book, so I am excited to be able to apply those things and to be able to, as I bring in new staff, to be able to share some things about conscious discipline.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.